Do you want to hear some exciting news about your favorite sport? Want to know what's going on in the UFC world at the moment? Are you aware of all the controversies within the arena? Then sit tight and hold your breath and stop blinking. You might not want to miss out on any exciting information we'll convey to you just now. Firstly, why is commentary so critical in sports? Imagine a sporting event without commentary going on in the background. How does it sound to you? Dull, boring, or maybe uninformative? That's what most of us feel. We can never enjoy a football match or any other match on the mute, though we would love the house cheering with energetic commentary. Commentators have different objectives towards their listeners, and that's why they must be specialized in their respective field. A cricket legend, Ramiz Raja, currently chairman of the Pakistan Cricket Board, used to do commentary after he retired from cricket. Likewise, a footballing star in the past, Alan Shearer, is known around the world for his intriguing commentary skills. This means that the commentator should have ample information about the sport to deliver their knowledge to the listeners and have them indulge in the game. Commentators have the duty to inform the audience about amazing stats about the players or the game. A commentator should also pump the audience with their energetic tones, which makes the game even more thrilling for people watching and hearing. It's the commentator who tells people about the 100th match of a player, or when was the last time the player scored, or maybe the upcoming fixture of the team playing. These bits and pieces of information during the game help the commentator to grab the audience and make them feel like a part of the game. Next, who is Joe Rogan? Where did he start? UFC is a boxing sport watched all over the world. It's always in the top 3 of a person's favorite sports. Is it yours too? I'm sure it will be. UFC matches are a complete thrill as the ferocious opponents jump onto each other to make sure their competitor is the one biting the dust. And to magnify the intensity of the match and make the blood rush at a higher pace, UFC hires commentators on contracts. And that is how in 2002, Joseph James Rogan got introduced to the field. Joe Rogan is one of the most well-known commentators of the sport, totally worthy of being in the position he currently is. Joe Rogan is also an actor and a comedian and was a television presenter in the past as well. He's the founder of the podcast show named The Joe Rogan Experience. In the podcast, Joe talks about matters relating to comedy, politics, science, and much more. He invites famous celebrities on his show to debate the topic further. The show gained popularity worldwide and received millions of views. Spotify also purchased some content from Joe at a price as high as $100 million. Joe Rogan introduced himself to television as an actor when he accepted a contract from Disney in 1994, after which he made his appearance in some of the shows. It was 1995 when he shook hands with UFC to work with them as an interviewer. Joe also got the opportunity to host the famous show Fear Factor during the period of 2001 to 2006. Moreover, does Joe Rogan want to end his shining career in the UFC? UFC is roaring at the top of all sports, while Joe Rogan is too, having a very successful career so far. Then, what is it about the news that he might quit? You all must be confused at this too. It's time we dig into the details and find out what exactly is happening, as we do not want to imagine UFC without Joe Rogan's commentary. Likewise, Rogan is also fond of someone without whom he states he would not want to work further with the platform. Dana White is the person Joe Rogan would not like to work without. Who is Dana White? You must be wondering. Well, the people aware of the sport must know him well. Dana White is the president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC. During an episode of JRE featuring Joe Rogan, the celebrity stated that when he signed the contract with UFC, he added a clause with it too. That clause clearly mentions that the famous spokesperson would be allowed to leave the UFC if the president, Dana White, retires from his job. Joe Rogan stated, "If Dana leaves, I'm gone. That's in my contract. What he does is very different." With this, Rogan clearly expressed that after Dana White has gone, the platform will not be the same again, as White has his own way of controlling and managing the platform, which the next president might not be able to do in the most efficient way. Coming right up, what was the Joe Rogan controversy, and what does the president have to say about it? Joe Rogan is a famous commentator and a globally known celebrity, and this makes controversies about him inevitable. Now, we will discuss one of the most recent controversies about Joe Rogan, and this might help you to reach conclusions about the matter in discussion. As we're all aware of the lethal virus that struck the world in the year 2020, known as COVID-19, we must also know that scientists all over the world took a few months before successfully finding a suitable vaccine after many failed to diagnose the virus. Being a hot topic in the period of time, Joe Rogan also discussed the virus and the vaccines in the episode of his podcast. In that, he presented an unpopular opinion that young and healthy people can recover without the use of vaccines. He, however, supported the use of the anti-parasitic drug called ivermectin. On this controversial statement, Rogan was bashed by 270 medical professionals from around the globe who persuaded Spotify to take action against the statements in the podcast. When Dana White was asked about a say in the matter, he supported his mate Joe Rogan. In his support, White declared himself COVID-free after getting the virus and taking the medics advised by Rogan, and the doctor prescribed medicine which included included ivermectin, Z-Pak, along with some other drugs. Up next, what are some more controversies? The controversies never end, and being famous and a media person at the same time brings a handful of controversies for you. You knock off one, and the other is already waiting for you on your doorstep. Joe Rogan, likewise, also got stuck in another controversy regarding his absence in UFC 271. He was on the broadcasting team. However, merely 3 days before the event, he was taken off the list. Michael Bisping, a UFC Hall of Famer, was asked to fill in the shoes of the absent commentator. It was rumored that the absence of the commentator was linked to some scheduling conflict. When Dana White was asked about the incident, he was rather unclear with his statements. He told the press that Joe Rogan should be working at the event, but if he is not, then he might have some other work to do, about which only Joe himself can shed some light on. The president further said that the rumor was nothing but fake and there was nothing as a conflict between Joe Rogan and the authorities. White also did not have an appropriate answer when asked about when Joe would be back, and he could only say, whenever he's gonna work again, he'll be working. Lastly, are there any new updates in the boxing world? But that's not all that's going on in the UFC these days. There's some more important news which you need to be aware of and are really interesting. The great boxing legend, Anderson Silva, hinted that he might retire in the upcoming 2 years of his career. The athlete is currently fighting at the age of 47. However, before retiring, he had some important matches to play. Silva will fight a known YouTube celebrity, Jake Paul, who has won all 5 of his fights. Anderson Silva is also willing to enter the ring with the great legendary heavyweight Fedor Emelianenko. Moreover, the UFC lightweight Michael Chandler has some claims about Islam Makhachev, a student of one of the best boxers this platform has ever seen, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Michael says that the praise Islam Makhachev is gaining due to his recent wins over Dan Hooker and Bobby Green might be a little too early, and that he should be tested more before he's proved deserving of the praise he's getting at the moment. Michael further clarified that he does not have any personal grudges against the young athlete, as he told the press that he's a good fighter and he admires Islam's work. However, he beat the boxers who were not in the best of their careers when the fights were held. That's all for today, guys. All the exciting gossip and hot news about UFC you won't want to miss. If you liked this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Also, consider turning on your notifications so that you'll never miss out on any new updates of what's going on in the headlines these days. Thanks for watching.